Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about these like movie concepts that my brother and I have come up with over the years, because I think that that's kind of like a fun concept because it's all stuff that I would make if I was like wealthy enough to make it, or if I was like smart enough to like write a good script or anything. You know, all those things that like movies actually need to succeed, like good scripts and high production costs and good sets and all that. And you weren't really more like joke concept guys and less like actual directors or anything. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm very tired. My brain is incredibly disjointed, so we're just gonna roll with the flow and see what happens. Um, so the first movie I'm going to talk about, or like fake movie I'm going to talk about, is this joke movie we came up with called Time for Practice. Um, and we came up with it while we were sitting at like a booth in a Dunkin' Donuts, and it was it was really funny because we were sitting in the booth, we were eating donuts. I'm pretty sure they were like disease ridden, if I'm not recalling the news incorrectly, because Dunkin' does not look like it's being looked upon favorably in the disease news right now, and in the Center for Disease Control. What am I talking about? Because all right, we were sitting in the booth and we were eating donuts, and we looked over and there was these two guys. This guy in like a football jersey and like shades inside. He was like had like blonde puffy hair, and then in the chair next to him was this goth girl. Like, I'm not talking like internet like TikTok goth. I'm talking like real deal, like full makeup, dressed to the nines goth, right? And they're just like sitting and they're kind of bickering with one another because they're doing math homework or something. And like clearly she's tutoring him because he's like not really paying that much attention. He's kind of like dicking off on his phone or whatever, and she's not very happy about it. But my brother and I turned to each other and we were just like, this is really funny because like this is just like a scene straight out of a movie, like a really bad high school movie where it's like the jock, he's like, oh, dude, like I love football and I love the sports. I love tossing the old pigskin around, hitting some brewskis with the boys. And you know, like then he's like, but like he's got like a big varsity game coming up, and the coach is like, well, if you can't maintain your good GPA, then I'm gonna have to kick you off the team. And he's like, you can't kick me off the team. My life is football, brah. So he has to like get tutoring from this girl he doesn't like, and then like through the tutoring, ooh, an apple, he learns to like her, and it's like a fucking New Line Cinema moment, which that seems like a pretty straightforward movie plot. I don't know where we got the shit he and I came up with out of that, but that's where the idea was birthed from. So the idea for the movie is this guy who's like the jock in that stand. His life is football. You know, he's like he just like hits brewskis. It's like the '80s, and like he's on the varsity team. He's got a big game coming up, and like there's this other guy. We named the jock guy, by the way. We named him Brody, I think. Brody McLean, maybe. We didn't name the other character, who is just like a pretty stereotypical nerd, you know, like he's like smart, gets all the answers right on the tests, goes from class to class getting swirlies from getting like wet willies and swirlies, getting beat up by the bullies for his lunch money or whatever. And like one day, right, they're like mortal enemies, right? The nerd and the jock are mortal enemies in the ecosystem the ecosystem of the '80s high school, right? And one day the guy is going to give the nerd his daily swirly, right? And it's like, you know, it's a classic moment for him. You know, he's just like, all right, man, just fucking hit me with your best shot. And he puts him in the swirly. And then the toilet, it takes him into the future. It takes the both of them into the future, into this new school in like modern year. And their role, I'm sure this movie has been done before because it's like such an easy concept to make fun with. But it's like it takes them to this school in the modern world where like their roles are reversed and they have to like adapt to their new lives. So the jock has to like become bullied because he's a fucking dickbag loser who nobody would like because he's just an asshole. He's not cool. He's not suave. Like his idea of hitting on women is like grabbing the asses of underage like freshman high schoolers, and they're just like, no, this is not cool. This is like sexual harassment and the like. And he's just like, what, dude? What even is that? And you know, then he gets in big trouble or whatever. And then like the nerd, because he's just like a fucking normal person who just like happens to be smart and like nerdy shit. adapts a lot better to his like new life in popularity. So like while the jock joins the football team and like whips them into shape, but like kind of like gets a heart of gold, you know. He like becomes really likable in the time he's spending with I think we called the coach. That's a real sentence, by the way. That totally made sense. The coach that gives the bully the heart of gold is named Coach. And he's like, his life becomes about helping all the guys on the football team, and like he starts getting decent grades, and like the girl he's hanging out with, who was like a fucking loser girl, like the girl from the booth. Not that she's a loser, but like in his eyes, she would be like the fucking loser girl that nobody would hang out with. God, this is a lot of replanting. They sort of start to hit it off, and like there's that Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs bit where she like takes her glasses off and suddenly she's like beautiful or whatever, but she puts them back on and like, or no, and she has glasses. She doesn't wear them because she thinks it makes them look ugly. And he's like, no, dude, babe, you'll look great. And then she puts the glasses on, and she can see how fucking ugly the guy is, and she's just like, oh, I don't want to wear the glasses anymore. And it's like that bit from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It's like the exact same thing. That happens, and then meanwhile, the nerd becomes involved in this like toxic, gross, like incel circle of like Hal Stewart-like assholes who are just like fucking turbo losers, and they like, you know, they do incel things like hit on girls in like a way that's not like Brody creepy, but like definitely not lawsuit creepy, but like you shouldn't wear this because it makes your ass look too, you look like a whore, you're asking to get sexually harassed, like that kind of incel. And like he's like not adjusting very well because he's super popular now, and like his life has been turned upside down in a way he hadn't expected before. And so they kind of just have to like come together, and he goes on like an ego trip because like this whole time they're trying to work together to get back, but like suddenly he doesn't really want to go back because his life is like a lot, he's changed. The jock doesn't want to go back. His life has changed a lot, like for the better here. But the nerd didn't want to go back initially, so they came to an agreement, right? The nerd didn't want to go back initially because he was popular here and cool and hip and the like. But now that he's realized what a ginormous fucking prick asshole he is, he's like, all right, I gotta get out of here. And the jock is just like, yeah, you know what? I think I gotta get out of here. This isn't right for me. I gotta see my family again. I gotta see my dog. I gotta talk to my friends and all that. So they're like, okay. Well, the building that was the 80s school is going to get demolished like a couple nights from now. But it comes down to the wire because like they have to like go back and do the swirly again to get back into the past. But the building with the toilet in it that used to be the 80s school is going to get demolished in a couple of nights. And that night happens to be the exact same night as like the championship varsity football game at the new high school. So they kind of have to like make do on this like close call. So like the nerd's getting everything set up, and like they're running out of time. It's like got like 5 minutes before the place gets demolished. And you know that just when time's about to run out, getting down to like 2 minutes, like he makes the game-winning catch or whatever, and like everybody carries him off field. He says goodbye to the girl and the coach that changed his life one last time, and then they head off to the school. He says goodbye to his girlfriend and all that. So then they rush off to the building, and they like break in right before it's about to get demolished, and like you can hear the crane coming up outside. I don't know why the building would still have plumbing if they're going to demolish it, but goddamn, they still have plumbing. And you know, they're like, the nerd puts his head down like, all right, man, come on, just get it over with already. Let's get back to where we belong. And then the jock's like, no, dude, no. You give me the swirly. Then the nerd gives the jock the swirly, and they become best friends, and the movie's over, and it's super cheesy, and I love it. Anyway, that's like the fully realized, that's like the sort of more fully realized one, because the rest of the things he and I thought of were just like joke concepts, if that makes sense, like super silly stuff, or like, you know, like super silly stuff that doesn't really have like the full character realization or like arcs or whatever that one would. We told our parents about it, and I told all my friends about it, and they were just like, that is the dumbest and most amazing idea I've ever heard in my life. And they both, like both groups, unanimously came to that consensus. So maybe I should do something with that. I don't know. If any directors are looking to pick up my garbage movie, I'll be willing to take a modest 15%, I think. 15% of profits. That seems pretty charitable by me, honestly. If you wanna direct my garbage movie, just you got to give my brother some cut. Most because he wrote most of it. So maybe give him like 20%, me like 15. It's our idea after all. A lot of these movies I write down like after I wake up in the middle of the night. Not because I had a dream about the movie plot, but like because it's just like a time where my brain's like creatively lucid, if that makes sense. Like sort of the way Salvador Dali did his paintings, who's my favorite artist by far. I just kind of like write down the ideas I have when I'm in that sort of lucid-ish state. I don't really dream on like an off tangent. I don't really like dream normally like people do. When I have dreams, it's like a once in a lifetime experience to have a positive dream. I have recurring nightmares almost every night. I should really get like a medical diagnosis or something. But like my nightmares are like they're all like social based, right? Like pretty much every nightmare I've had for the past like, I don't know, I want to say like 3-4 years of my life have been rejection based on, whoever I was into at the time. And I like, you can tell how, because like, you can tell how into somebody I am based on how sleep deprived I come into class every day, because oh my god, I can like, I'll wake up in a cold sweat in like a 60-degree room from these nightmares, man. If not in tears, it's like, it's disturbing. I have a terrible phobia of rejection, which maybe is why I don't do very well in relationships. So it's just food for thought for me, honestly. Anyway, yeah, I don't really like dreams like that. It's mostly all like repetitive nightmares of like public humiliation. So that's that tangent over with. Okay, I have a handful of other ideas that are less realized. The second most realized one, I don't remember what we call it. We probably didn't give it a name, but it was about these two like cowboy bounty hunters who are like going out, like issued by the not issued by the government, but like are going out catching people. They're like criminal outlaws, so like they kind of have to coexist a little bit with the government, even though the government doesn't really want them to. But they go out on this one call, the guy and the main guy and his bounty hunter friend. They're both bounty hunters, but the main guy and his best friend, they kind of go out on this call, and they wind up in this like sort of deserted town, and they find a bunch of bodies. And the guy who they're tracking down is a vampire. It's like an Old West vampire, and like he gets killed. The vampire gets iced, but not before he ices the main guy's buddy. And it's like this big, it's like the moment when John Wick's dog dies in hit movie John Wick, featuring Keanu Reeves and Willem Dafoe. It's like the inciting incident that like kicks off the entire movie. So he goes back to the government and he's like, there's vampires here, dude. Like there's monsters of myth and legend kicking around, and they killed my buddy. I need to do something about this. And they're just like, well, the government's like, well, we need you to do something about this too, because they're kind of killing like a lot of the people. So anyway, they send the bounty hunter cowboy guy out. Ooh, this is gonna be a tricky one. I hate taking down these trees. They send him out, and he like goes from town to town, and he like slowly, every encounter with a vampire, he's tracking him down. He's like learning more about the vampires as he goes along. Like he goes and like has to hide in a church from a bunch of vampires, and he realizes they can't get in. Like he's like fighting a vampire in like a bar or something, like a deserted bar. And like he gets pushed through like some stairs or something, and he has to use like the stairs as like a sharpened wood weapon, which like leads him in that like they can be killed with stakes through the heart or something like that. I don't know how these trees work, by the way. I'm just like kind of mining in random directions, and it's working a little bit. And like he eats like a bunch of garlic or something for some reason, or like something really garlicky. And like when a vampire bites him, it like fucking shrivels up on his arm and dies right then and there. They only attack at night, like the daytime is always safe or something like that. Anyway, it gets to the end, and he's like at the main like ghost town where he's tracked most of the vampires' activity to, and he like loads up his guns with like these little miniature stake bullets, and he goes out on a massacre, and he like fucking kills all these vampires, and he finds the place they're coming from, and inside is like the gates to hell. And so he goes in on his horse, and when he gets in there, he's got, you know, all this fucking like double brandoiler, like infinite ammunition, fucking stake shotgun in one hand, stake repeater in the other. And he's like on his like fucking fiery skeleton horse going through, and like it's like Doom. He's like fucking tearing demon asshole open, trying to find, I don't know, what's the head vampire? Dracula, I guess. Like, is he like the big cheese of vampires? I don't know much about vampire lore. I just thought this would be like an interesting take on it. And he finally gets there, and he kills Dracula in like this big face off or whatever, after he's killed like hundreds of vampires. And then he finds his buddy, and he like literally drags him out of hell back into the land of the living, because they're best friends and shit. And that's the movie. It would mostly be like just like kind of a showcase of like cool action set pieces, I guess, and like not interesting dialogue, but like, no, yeah, it would just be pretty much interesting action. But you know, I like action like a lot. I like senseless action. You ever seen Bullet Train? Just kidding. That movie is great. It has great action, but it also has a fantastic story. So I'm not ragging on Bullet Train. I would never rag on Bullet Train. It's one of my favorite movies ever. That was that one. I have another one written down here that I think I alone wrote. I know I had to have written it recently, because I hadn't seen the Star Wars movies up until like pretty recently. Like, I hadn't seen shit, like diddly squat. Like, I knew stuff like Luke is Vader's son from like cultural osmosis, but like I didn't know shit, man. And I'm sure I wrote this like the nights after I binge watched like the prequels, and then like the sequel, like the original 3 in a row or something like that, because the plot is just it's basically Star Wars. It's Star Wars meets Django Unchained, which is weird because I hadn't seen Django Unchained up until that point. Great movie, by the way, definitely worth watching. I'll link the video in the description. There's a full upload of that movie on YouTube, which is weird because I didn't know you were allowed to upload tits to YouTube, but you know, here we are. Whatever, man. Restrict me because I put an instrumental in my video, but no, the guy with the tits in his video, that's cool. Yeah, the guy with the fucking tortured, sunburnt, like whipped slave tits in his movie, that's cool, man. Whatever. Let's see, one of the final one I had written that I think he and I both talked about maybe, but I definitely think I wrote most of the idea for. This was like the last technically like even a little realized one, was like this probe that's been like sent to another planet like Mars or something, like a humanoid like lifelike probe that's like got artificial intelligence or whatever. Ooh, a new kind of wood. We're moving up in the world. That's like, it acts and thinks like a regular person, you know, as you'd expect most probes to do, or most humanoid probes to do. And it's like, it searches around the planet, you know, does like kind of dicking around like Wall-E-esque shenanigans. Like, but like, it's like the first few minutes of Wall-E, but permanently. Where he kind of just like dicks around, collects stuff, and like, he like finds all these old like destroyed rovers and probes and such. I should really get my way, be walking my way back. He finds all these like old destroyed probes and stuff, and he tries to use all the space garbage and the leftover pieces of other probes to like build himself a new friend because he's super lonely. You know, because he's a fucking robot, and like, and he's got human sentience, and you know, humans need companionship, and I thought that would be a cute idea for a movie. I'd have to like realize what planet and like maybe get some thought about alien life or something on it to like spice up the movie a little bit. But I think that could be a cool like little character piece. I have 2 other rogue thoughts as I've written them. Just like stuff that I barely remember even thinking about. Like, I guess stuff that I just wrote down the idea for and then like rolled back over into another nightmare. I have written just Jake Whitney, who I think was this idea that my brother and I had about this like stereotypical like Miami Vice-esque detective who's like he gets it all, he gets it done, but at the cost of the rules, you know, that kind of thing. And they're like, they go on like a drug bust or something, and it's like the chief is like, "You're off the case. I'm putting you down. I'm putting you on Vice," because he's like a missing persons investigator. "You're off the case. I'm putting you on fuck. I hit the microphone. "You're off the case. I'm putting you on Vice." And then, you know, it's like, if you solve this bust, I might be able to convince, if you bust these drug dealers, I might be able to convince my guys to give this station more funding or whatever. And then, you know, like chaos ensues, I guess. That kind of deal. The other and last thing I have written down is hold on, I gotta get up here. Is pirate kidnapping. I think this has to do with like modern pirates, which I didn't know existed. They still got pirates. Like, they're still fucking kicking around, like pillaging seas. They're just like, instead of like swashbuckling like doubloon searching mateys that like drink fucking rum and like use their swashbuckling giant swords to like decapitate captains of like colonizers' ships, they're like normal people with like machine guns and like grenades and barbed wire who go around like robbing giant storage ships. And I thought that was like such an interesting idea, because I've seen these pictures of boats going through international pirate waters, which is such a fun sentence to say. Pictures of ships covered in barbed wire and like electric fencing going through international pirate water. Come on, that's so cool. Anyway, it would be like a bunch of pirates boarding like a ship or something and keeping like a captain hostage or something, and then like one of the hostages gets free, and it's sort of like that game about the oil rig with like the Eldritch Demon, but instead of it being like an Eldritch Demon, it's like the end of Taken, but like constantly. You know, the end of Taken, where like that oh my god, what's his name, fucking Liam Neeson, just like goes on a fucking massacre on that boat and kills like 1,000 people, even though he's like 60 years old in that movie. It would be like that, but like the entire movie, and I think that'd be pretty interesting, because you could do a whole lot with like the new pirate premise. I think you could bring some modernity, I guess is the word or the phrase, to pirates, which I think is something that could be cool to expand upon a little bit. Let's hop down and ting it today, and then 1v1 the zombie. 1v1. 1v1. Oh yeah. Maybe I should have played Hypixel. Oh my god, I would have been goated. Clearly. What's our total? We got a lot of oak wood. A little bit of birch. And less spruce. Let's throw saplings in here and fruit in here. Look at our haul. Look at that. That's like 30 minutes of dicking around and talking about nonsense. Anyway, yeah, I think that's about it. This is an interesting premise. I might come back to this. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it with like mining coal or ores or something and see what the haul is like. Movies. I have a couple of, like, I think I have one big project that I actually am invested in working in, but that would be like a video in and of itself. Let me know in the comments if you have anything you want me to like change about the concept of these commentaries, because I'm super new to like this kind of improv-y style. Usually everything I do is completely micromanaged by myself. Any ideas for like what I should talk about, or stories, or so on and so forth, or like anything I should change. Maybe I shouldn't record at 3:45 in the morning next time while I'm fucking blackout tired. But